Well, I think our student visa regime is actually very generous. You know, as I say, we're very careful before we issue a student visa to make sure, for the student's sake as much as anyone else, that they're able to complete the course. But once you get that visa, you have a right to work in Australia for 22 hours a week while you're studying. Your spouse is given a right to work. You have many of the benefits of a resident of Australia for the period that you are a student. And we ask people who come, obviously, to take the benefit of that and to obviously respect what we're giving. But we are very generous. And in some cases, a student visa will allow a student to stay on for a year or two after finishing their course and to work full-time. And that gives them a legal right to work in that time. Well, it's very disturbing if we hear of any news of any cases of fraud on behalf of Australian universities or Australian training organisations. And as soon as we do hear about those, they're swiftly investigated by the Australian government. Oh, it's been very fruitful so far. This visit, I am visiting for the first time Amritsar, Jalandhar and Ludhiana. And I've paid my first official visit to the Golden Temple yesterday. That was a very, very powerful moment for me, I have to say. But when I am in the course of the remainder of my visit, I'll be focusing largely on our agriculture cooperation with India, with Punjab, as well as other areas of cooperation, tourism, sport, and so forth. So tomorrow in Ludhiana, I'll be very focused on agriculture. So it's very difficult for me to give a generalised comment on that because each person's individual circumstances are unique to them. It's true, though, that the numbers of Indians going to Australia are now at a record high. The last census in 2016, we had over 650,000 people of Indian origin who are now living in Australia. And that is actually a very large number. It's a significant increase over even 10 years ago. I think it's tripled in the last 10 years. So people are getting their permanent residency, but they have to do that through the various channels that we have, either through skilled migration programs or through other visa programs that allow a conversion to a permanent residency. It depends how a person has come to Australia, but there are a number of channels for them to use. I'm not even going to risk my Punjabi. No, I was very moved. I don't know how to put all those words in Punjabi, but when I first saw the Golden Temple, my heart leapt. It really did. It was a very powerful moment for me. Well, we're working very hard to increase our trade in both directions, and a lot of that actually comes through finding ways to connect those businesses or those sectors that can work together well. Last year, our Prime Minister launched a big study into how Australia and India can improve our trade relations. That study is being conducted by a former High Commissioner, Mr. Peter Varghese, and it is near completion now. And that looks at about 4 or 5 key sectors and a few important states where we should connect sectors such as agribusiness, such as minerals and mining, education. Those are the sorts of areas that we can build economic ties between our two countries. So at the moment, as I understand it, the Adani Group had applied for government funding to subsidise their building of the rail link, but that the state, while the federal government, the Australian government has been very supportive of that. I understand that the state government has said it will not support that. And so it's really up for the Adani government at the moment, the Adani company, to seek other sources of financing, which I believe they have said that they will do.
But they were refused to funds for the rail link.
It's up to all the parties to agree, and in this case I understand one of the parties did not agree, but the important point is that the Australian government continues to support the project very much. So we're watching this fairly carefully. My understanding is that one Gurdwara alone in Melbourne has not banned Indian officials from entering or anything like that, merely from making government speeches in the Gurdwara. That is my understanding. As long as those matters do not breach Australian law, then obviously it is a matter for how the Gurdwara chooses to run its management. But I understand it's not a widespread practice amongst Australian Gurdwaras.